They went to Hawaii without me while I lay in intensive care with a tube in my throat. And the first time I saw it was when a nurse held up my phone so I could watch my husband laughing under a palm tree with my children and my sister.do. You know what it feels like to wake up inside a machine and realize the people you love have flown to paradise without you? It is like waking into cold water. Your body tries to tell you you're fine, that it's a mistake, that it's a fever dream. But there I was, hearing the breath hiss in and out through plastic, the monitor counting every beat I fought for, while my daughter's hair lifted in the ocean breeze on my husband's feed. Little Ava's hands, brown with our bad home self-tanner because we were supposed to practice before our family trip this summer, patting Sam next to my son Noah's crooked grin. Evan's arms stretched long to get all of them in the frame. Lila, my sister, in the corner, sunglasses like a secret, are they? There now. I rasped, though I didn't have a voice yet. It came out like air scratching. The nurse, Ruth, bless her gentle eyes and steady hands, started. Your friend Nadia showed me the account. I'm sorry. There are? A lot of posts. She swallowed, like she wanted to cry for me. They went 2 days ago. 2 days. I had been asleep for 4 days since the car accident on Maple, where the intersection turns yellow and people pretend they can beat the red. 4 days since someone's impatience tore metal open and folded me into the ICU. Evan had sat by my bed the first night, I think. I remember his shoe tapping because he never could be still, and I remember how he smelled like cologne strong enough to mask anything. I remember him resting his hand on the railing, not my hand. He told me he had to handle things with the kids. He handled things, all right. He handled the account I'd been filling for 3 years with tutoring money. We all joke about Mommy's coffee can. It wasn't a can. It was a savings account named Hibiscus, because that's the flower I had planned to tuck behind Ava's ear when we finally went together. Every time I stayed up late with a student who struggled to find her voice in an essay, every babysitting gig for my neighbor so I could pay the gardener, every coupon clipped, I put a little into Hibiscus. Not just money. Pieces of our summer, our future. Ruth slid a tissue into my hand. It made a soft sound against the tape on my wrist. Your friend thought it was better you knew now rather than be blindsided later. I blinked until the sting eased because crying with a tube hurts like you're trying to swallow broken glass. The video looped. That beach. The water that looked like a promise, and then, in the next clip, Evan leaned toward Lila. They weren't touching in a way I could hold up in court, but grief has a sharp nose for what is wrong. It smelled like brine and something rotten under it. My sister's laugh was a sound from our old summers, when we'd run barefoot to the neighbor's pool and share a towel because we didn't have two. But now, it made my chest tighten. She had one of my scarves wrapped around her waist like a sarong. I saw the pattern, saffron and blue and small white birds. The scarf my mom, our mom, had left me. Lila had never liked it. Said it looked like an old couch. She took it anyway. Ruth lifted her eyes to mine. Do you want me to call someone? Not him, she said, soft and fierce all at once. A friend? Nadia, I mouthed. Ruth nodded and stepped out. The monitor clicked on with my heartbeat. I could feel myself inside it, as if I were both woman and machine. That's what a betrayal does. It makes you split, the you that feels it, and the you that watches. Nadia arrived with hair pulled back in a messy bun and fury steadier than any man I've ever known. She took my hand and kissed my forehead. Mara, she said, her voice a mother's voice, the voice I needed. I'm here. I'm not leaving. She angled the chair close so I could see her mouth. I called Ms. Delgado, she whispered. You remember Monica from school? She's a family lawyer now. She's on her way. I blinked once, twice. Evan had my phone, my wallet, my house keys, my children. But he didn't have my proxy. When I turned 38, after the scare with my aunt's stroke, I had filled out the paperwork giving Nadia my healthcare choice if I couldn't make it. I told Evan, but he never asked for the details. You worry too much, he'd said. Maybe I do. Maybe that worry saved me. Monica Delgado wore a navy blazer and eyes that took in everything. She introduced herself, then nodded toward the doorway. Is it all right if we speak? I wrote on the small board Ruth handed me. My handwriting looked like a stranger's hand, shaking, slanted. But I wrote. He took them to Hawaii using my savings. I want custody. I want the house. He's been. I don't know. Maybe Lila. Not sure if Monica read it and her mouth went a line. First, you rest, she said. But since Ruth reached out, I've already filed for a temporary financial restraining order. It will freeze the joint credit card so he can't drain anything else. I can't stop the trip, obviously. But we can keep him from selling, moving, doing more damage. Also, I'm filing an emergency motion for temporary custody. His choice to take your children out of state while you were in the ICU will not impress a judge. By the time they got back from their tropical therapy session, papers were waiting like storms, Ruth whispered. You're strong. When the tube came out and my throat felt rubbed raw from the inside. I drank water. I slept. In the many hours between a nurse's visits and the physical therapist's gentle coaxing of muscles, I scrolled, because of course I did. Everyone in grief scrolls. It's like touching the bruise. Lila had posted a selfie of my children in matching pineapple t-shirts, the caption, "Finding joy in hard times." Carol, my mother-in-law, commented with hearts. She was in the background of one photo holding a cocktail with a tiny umbrella. We deserve this, her face said. Evan had a story of a sunset. I couldn't hear the words, but I could read his lips. For you, he said to the sky, to me. The arrogance. For me. As if this was a tribute and not a theft, but there was worse. The charges. Nadia pulled statements from my email because Ruth had gotten me into my account. I coughed, I laughed, when I saw the list. The family suite at a 5-star. A private dolphin swim because Ava has always loved that book about Keiko the whale, a book I read so many times the spine gave out. Sushi dinners. A snorkel instructor. And, tucked in between, a charge at a jewelry shop. $1,840. My scarf, my savings, my children, and now perhaps something glittering for my sister? I wanted to rip wires from me and climb on a plane and stand in the hotel lobby wearing a hospital gown and say, "Give my life back." Monica counseled me to wait. Let him hang himself, she said. Sometimes men like this bring their own rope and write their own letter of apology without meaning to. Nadia slept on the vinyl chair so that when I woke and saw the sterile ceiling, there was also her, and that made the room bearable. We whispered like girls at a sleepover. But our secrets were less about crushes and more about survival. You're not crazy, Nadia told me. You're not hysterical. You're not overreacting. They left you. They took what was yours. And you will come home to more than you left with. You'll see. The day I was discharged, I wore a thrift store sundress Nadia found that buttoned in front because my shoulder still screamed when I reached back. Ruth hugged me and told me she'd saved something. From my box of a few personal things someone had brought from home, Ruth pulled out my scarf. The saffron with the birds. They brought it to the hospital when you first came in. It fell under the bed, she said. I washed it. It smelled like clean cotton. I pressed it to my face and breathed out. I made a plan in the quiet of my small bathroom where even the mirror looked kinder than usual. The plan wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a movie. It was a woman's plan, built from small bricks. I changed the locks. Monica had gotten me temporary exclusive use of the house pending a hearing, and she had a process server ready. Nadia called a locksmith we knew from church. He came, looked me in the eye, and said, I heard. I'll make sure no one comes in who isn't on your list. I put fresh sheets on the bed. My bed. I made a normal pot of spaghetti sauce, because the kids would want something familiar. I texted Evan. Come for Sunday dinner. I lied. I said I missed them, which was true, and that I wanted to thank everyone for taking care of the kids during my recovery. Which was not true the way he would hear it. He replied with a thumbs up like we were talking about a soccer practice. On Saturday, while pots simmered, I went through the drawer with papers I had been too tired to look at for months. Post-it notes with passwords. A folded letter from my mother, stained with olive oil from when I'd stuck it to the fridge as a reminder to call her about her knee. She died 2 summers ago. I thought I had no family left to lose except my children. That was a lie life told me until last week. I found our postnuptial agreement. Yes. The one from 3 years ago, after I found messages between Evan and a woman from the gym. I remember our counselor suggesting it. Restore trust, she said. Have something in place so that if there is another breach, the consequences are clear. He signed, sullen and self-righteous, with Monica as witness because she was early in her practice then and agreed to help. I read the lines now. In the event of infidelity, husband waives all rights to wife's separate property and any asset wife owned prior to marriage. He also agrees to reimburse any funds dissipated for a non-marital purpose. The ink didn't wobble. It wasn't old. It felt suddenly like a rope in my own hands. I could hear my mother's laugh like wind. You always were practical, she'd say. You want to feel feelings, but you also keep a ledger in your head. That ledger saves your life, honey. Maybe. I don't know. But I folded the agreement and put it in a folder with receipts Nadia had downloaded. The jewelry purchase. The flights. The upgrade fee. The Instagram posts printed with dates and times. Times my heart tried to stop and soldiers in my veins kept going anyway. Sunday came soft and bright. Birds outside, sparrows at the feeder, quick little things with more fight than feathery. I wore jeans and a white shirt because I wanted to look like myself. I tied my hair back. I put on lipstick because my mother's ghost told me to put on lipstick when I needed courage. The scent of tomatoes filled the house like love does when it is real. The kids ran through the door first. Ava's voice like bells. Mommy. Noah crashed into my legs, almost knocking me over. His hair smelled like hotel shampoo. I bent and pressed my face into their heads. God, I could live in that moment forever. I missed you so much, I said, and I did not cry because my tears scare them. I have sauce and garlic bread and the big salad you like. Go wash your hands, please. Scrub like your nails are hiding secrets. They giggled. They ran. Evan came in. He looked good. Trips always made him glow. He had that tan men get that hides sins for a while. He had stubble like he'd been too busy being a hero to shave. He brought in a bag, souvenirs, of course. Carol followed, her mouth already shaped like advice. And behind them, Lila. She hovered in the foyer like a bad thought. She wore a shell necklace. I looked at it and saw the receipt in my folder. My breath tasted like copper. Mara, Evan said, opening his arms as if we were in some greeting card advertisement for forgiveness. You look great. He kissed the air near my cheek. I stepped to the side. His face flickered. He didn't like not being the center of whatever stage he was on. He glanced at the table like he was a judge on a cooking show. Smells good, he said. Carol moved to hug me. Sweetheart, she cooed. You wouldn't believe the stress. I told Evan, you always overdo it, but he insisted the kids needed joy. She said kids like she invented them. She glanced at my curtains, my lamp, my life like an appraiser. Lila didn't move. Her mouth was tight. Mara, she said. She didn't call me sis. Her eyes went to the scarf in my hair. Good. Let her look. Sit, I said. Eat. My voice wasn't steady. It didn't have to be. We passed bread and used napkins and nobody mentioned the ICU. The kids told me about fish and a man who could hold his breath for 4 minutes. Noah said, I can do 1 minute. He held his breath and turned pink and I tapped his nose and said, don't you dare pass out. Ava twirled noodles like a pro and then looked at me with serious eyes. Daddy said we had to go because we were too sad here. He said you were sleeping and would be mad if we didn't have fun. I nodded and smiled at her because she is 9 and shouldn't have to hold the weight of adult sentences. I'm glad you had fun, I said. Both things can be true. You can have fun and I can be hurt. Evan cleared his throat like he was about to deliver a brave speech. Mara, I know you saw the pictures. I was going to tell you, but I thought, he lifted his hands. I thought you'd freak out. It wasn't the plan. But you scared the kids. They thought you were going to die. Stop, Lila said, low. Just don't. Carol patted Lila's arm like she was her own child and not someone she had always measured against me. We needed to change the energy, Carol said. A shift. And it was the only time the flights were cheap. My laugh snapped. I put my fork down. With my money, I said. Evan leaned back, palms out. Our money. Married. Joint account. He said married like a chain. You think I want to use a penny of your tutor cash? No. But it was there. I'll pay it back. Work is crazy. I have a bonus coming. Look, you're overreacting. You always make a big thing. I stood up. Nadia was behind the kitchen doorway. She tipped her head. Monica stood in the hall with a man in a navy suit carrying a thick envelope. My legs didn't shake. I felt like the floor was under me again. I made sauce because the kids needed a normal Sunday, I said. They needed to see the table set and their mother not hooked up to machines. They didn't need to see a process server, but here we are. The man stepped in. Evan Brooks. He asked, what is this? Evan snapped, the charm falling off him like a coat finally slipping from impossible shoulders. You could have called, Carol hissed. This is dramatic, Mara. You always loved drama. That's why you teach English. All those books about suffering. You eat it up. I love my children, I said. I love my life. I loved your son. I planned a trip to Hawaii for our 10-year anniversary. I spent 3 years making it happen. Do you know what it's like to watch someone else use your dream while you lie in a hospital bed wondering if you can swallow on your own? No? Then be quiet, Carol. Monica stepped forward. You are being served with a petition for dissolution of marriage, Mr. Brooks, she said, like she was telling him what time it was. Also, a motion for temporary custody and an interspousal tort claim for dissipation of assets. There is a hearing Wednesday. Be sure you appear. She turned to Carol. And Ms. Bennett, since I assume you put your name on nothing, this won't concern you legally. Morally? That's not my department. Evan slapped the envelope against his thigh. You are taking this too far. It was one vacation. And Lila needed to get away, too. I looked at Lila. Did you? Her chin lifted. You think because you were in the hospital the world had to stop? You always expect the entire planet to shift around your feelings. Maybe the kids needed to see beauty. Maybe you should thank him. I did not throw the bowl. I did not scream. I reached under the sideboard and pulled out a pink folder. I laid it on the table between the salad and the basket of bread. I flipped it open. The papers made a dry sound. Remember this? I asked Evan. He stared at the page. His lips pressed into a thin white line. He looked up. You're reaching. Maybe, I said. Monica would say otherwise. But even if I were reaching, there's this. I slid a photo printed from Lila's stories. They thought they'd deleted it after an hour. Screenshots are forever. It wasn't obscene. It didn't need to be. It was the frame of a lantern-lit patio. Evan leaning into Lila so close his mouth brushed her ear. Her hand on his chest. The way his eyes were half closed in that look that had once been for me and only me, the private laugh Ava made a small sound. I realized too late that she could see. Nadia moved fast, put a hand on her shoulder, drew her gently from the table like she was redirecting a bird that had flown into a window. Let's go check on the neighbor's cat, Nadia said. He keeps hiding under the porch. He and I are friends. Monica tilted her head at the kids too. Carol's mouth opened. Do not, we'll discuss this like adults, I said. Not in front of them. Noah reached for the bread, took one more piece, and left with Nadia obediently. He has always loved Nadia. She never raises her voice and she thinks fart jokes are high art. We sat with the ticking of the kitchen clock. The smell of garlic turned heavier. It's not what it looks like, Evan started. He was a man of script, of phrases that had comforted him his whole life. He probably rehearsed in the bathroom mirror. We were comforting each other. On my money, I said. In my dream. I turned to Lila. Do you know what you've always been? The girl who takes the last peach and then shakes the tree to see if there's something else she can steal. Do you remember when we were kids and Mom said the couch could stay nice if we respected it? You took markers and drew under the cushions because you wanted to see if you could get away with it. You're still that girl. She flinched like I'd slapped her. You didn't die, she said. Stop acting like you died. You're very much here. I am, I said. More than you know. I went to the living room and turned on the TV. The slideshow started soft on purpose. Family pictures. The kids at Halloween dressed as a sushi roll and a ninja. Evan in the backyard holding a beer and a rake. Lila and me on my wedding day, our faces shiny with heat and happiness. You could see the version of us that believed life would cut us a break if we were kind enough. Then the photos shifted to Hawaii. The kids in all the colors of marketing. The dolphins. The necklace around Lila's neck, shells shining. A still of a credit card statement beside it. Monica's associate, a whiz with visuals, had made it unsubtle. Date, time, merchant. Waikiki Jewelers. $1,840. The room went quiet in a way that had a temperature. Turn it off, Carol said. This is petty. You're humiliating yourself. You did that yourselves, I said. Now you're just getting to see it from another angle. Evan walked to the TV and pressed the power button. Not the remote. He likes to touch, to leave fingerprints on the world. Leave, I said. He turned. You can't make me. Monica held up a copy of the court order. Actually, she said, she can. Temporary exclusive occupancy of the marital home. Serving now. You have 1 hour to gather your belongings. Ms. Bennett, you as well. Carol's face moved through shades I didn't know faces came in. You did this to my son? She whispered. This is how you thank us for saving your children from a funeral? Lila stood. I won't be spoken to like this, she said, and her necklace clicked like tiny teeth. I leaned on the back of a chair because my body reminded me I was still healing. There's the rage. There's the pain. But under all that is the simple thing, breath in, breath out. When I was lying in a white room, machines breathing for me, I learned the difference between panic and air, I said, looking at them. Panic lies. Air tells the truth. The truth is you left me. The truth is you spent what wasn't yours. The truth is you will not do that again. Not here. Evan grabbed the souvenir bag and slammed it on the floor. Little keychains spilled, a ukulele, a turtle, a coconut. Cheap things that tried to make light of what was heavy. Noah would love them later. I would give them to him, but they would be from me. Evan went down the hall to the bedroom and came back with a duffel. He didn't look at me. He said, to the room, "You're going to regret this." It sounded ridiculous even to him. Carol hovered. You will forget who took care of the children when you were. Nadia took care of them, I said. She made them grilled cheese and cut the crusts and sat on the floor with them. She told them the truth. You took them on a trip and told them it was therapy. Lila lingered by the door. Her face softened for 1 second. You're not the only one who hurts, she said. I know, I said. But I am the only one who has to keep us alive. When they left, the house exhaled. I stood at the sink and put my hands on the counter and let the shaking come. Nadia wrapped her arms around me from behind, the way a best friend can hold all your thoughts together for a minute so they don't spill. You did it, she said into my hair. You set the table and you cleared it. Will it be enough? I asked. Women ask that after everything. We ask if our care is enough, our boundaries enough, our anger allowed. It will be enough for today, Nadia said. Tomorrow we'll make more. The hearing on Wednesday was a circus, but the kind where all the animals get rescued at the end. Monica wore the navy blazer again and a small pin with her grandmother's initials. She stood with me like a wall. The judge read. Ms. Delgado had arranged a guardian ad litem to speak for the kids. The representative interviewed Ava and Noah in a small room with crayons on the table. Ava, God love her, told the truth because I have always told her we don't lie except to strangers at the door. Mommy is safe, she told the woman. Mommy is the one who makes winter soup and remembers where I left my pink headband. Daddy went on a trip when Mommy was hurt. He said I couldn't call her because she needed quiet. The judge looked over his glasses at Evan. Sir, he said, the words so dry it could splinter. There is a difference between needing space and taking advantage of someone's vulnerability. He granted me temporary primary custody and the house. He ordered Evan to reimburse half the trip immediately and the rest after a review of his finances. He ordered counseling for the kids and, if I chose, for me with him to attend classes on boundaries and co-parenting. He put in place a no-contact provision with Lila in the presence of the children. In the hallway afterward, Evan leaned in like we were still a team. You didn't have to bring up Lila, he said, low. You made it messy. You brought Lila to Waikiki, I said. You are the mess. Lila didn't look at me. She walked past with Carol, and the click of their heels sounded like someone leaving a church after a funeral before the last hymn. Monica put a hand on my elbow. Home, she said. Go home. Rest. The next motions can wait a week. I went home. I opened the windows. I put on music that wasn't sad, just steady. The kids came back at 3 after school, and we sprawled on the living room rug with a jigsaw puzzle of a lighthouse. Noah found the corner pieces like it was his job. Ava put the sky together, patient. The cat slept with one eye open like it couldn't trust any of us yet. Did Daddy do something bad? Noah asked, small, as he pressed blue into blue. Daddy did something unkind, I said. He made a choice that hurt me. He also loves you. 2 things can be true at the same time. Ava nodded like a judge. He should say sorry, she said. Without heat, he should, I said. Whether he will is not our job to fix. That night, we watched a movie and ate oranges and popcorn, the house smelling like citrus and salt and clean sheets. The kind of night I used to think was boring when I was young. This is my favorite kind of night now. Later, after they were asleep, I took the pink folder out again and added a copy of our marriage license, my paycheck stubs, the custody order. I slid in the printed photos not because the court needed more, but because I did. A record. A ledger. This is what happened. This is what I survived. Weeks passed. He raged a little, then less. He showed up on time for drop-offs, then late, then on time again because the judge made it expensive to be late. Lila stopped posting. She didn't text me. Friends chose sides because friends will. Some sent flowers. Some were silent, and their silence was an answer I will remember. Carol saw me at the grocery store and pretended to study a can of tomatoes like it contained the meaning of life. I walked by with my basket full of apples and my head upright. The aisle smelled like someone had crushed basil in their hands. In therapy, the kids drew pictures of our house and the beach. The therapist, a woman with kind boots and necklaces that made her look like she belonged in a novel, had them write down wishes. Noah wished for a dog. Ava wished for no more yelling at doors. I wrote my own wish on a sticky note while they colored. It wasn't for Evan to regret anything. It wasn't for Lila to grovel. It was this: let me keep my heart soft for my children and hard for anyone who tries to use it as a doormat. One evening, I got a text from an unknown number. It was a picture of the shell necklace sitting on a kitchen counter. Below it, a line: I sold it back. It was Lila. She always let me go first, but when she had to go first, it came out stilted. I typed, I hope you find a way to be happy without hurting me. She typed back, just once. I'm sorry. It didn't fix anything. It didn't need to. It was a stone thrown into water that made a small sound and then a circle that widened. That's all. Apologies are sometimes. At school, one of my students wrote a story about a woman who built a house from her breath. Every time she exhaled, a brick formed. Every time she inhaled, mortar. At first, the house was flimsy and the wind knocked it down. But she kept breathing. I gave her an A, not because she wrote about me but because she wrote the truth, and a truth bravely told is always good work. There were bad nights. Of course there were. No one tells you how quiet it is when your children sleep and you are awake with an ache that has a map drawn on your insides. But the ache changed shape. It didn't grow. It settled. It became a thing I could put in a chair and say, you can sit with me, but you can't drive. You want revenge to look like a courtroom victory with confetti. Sometimes it looks like that. The judge signed the decree. The property division favored me. The infidelity clause stood. Evan had to sell his boat, of course there was a boat, and pay me what he owed. He moved into an apartment with a balcony that faced a parking lot. He bought a plant. He tried to show the kids that he was stable. Let him. The kids need two parents who make good choices. If one learned later than the other, then let God do the math. One evening, after a late fall soccer game, we came home to find a pineapple on the porch. No note. Just the fruit, a prickly crown. I picked it up and felt my hands go calm. It is supposed to be a symbol of welcome. Of hospitality. The irony made me smile, and then the smile softened. I brought it inside. I cut it into cubes. Ava and Noah ate with their fingers, juices sticky on their palms, laughing as the cat tried to steal a piece and then sneezed. Ava licked her hand. Is this like Hawaii? She asked. It is like here, I said. Sweet. Ours. I do not offer you a happy ending. I offer you this, a true one. A woman learned people could love her in ways that look like laughter under palm trees while she breathes through plastic. She taught herself to look at a screen and not break. She lined up papers and actions like breadcrumbs back to herself. She told the truth even when the truth shook. She called in help. She made the dinner anyway. She held the door open when the people who said they would never leave, left. She locked it after. She slept on clean sheets, and when they came back, they found a woman who didn't raise her voice, because she didn't have to. She had the law, and a friend with a bun and fierce eyes, and a lawyer with a pin on her collar, and a heart that remembered how to beat on its own. She had children who learned that no is a complete sentence. She had a scar on her throat where the tube had been. She touched it sometimes and didn't flinch. She had a scarf the color of saffron and birds. She wore it on mornings when the air tasted like new apples. It looked like a small flag. Sometimes, at dinner, Noah will say, tell the story about the time the power went out and we ate by candlelight, and Ava will roll her eyes because she is 9 starting to be 10. And I will tell it anyway, and their faces will glow. And I will think, this is my revenge. This light in the soft places. This table still set. This breath I do not owe to anyone. If you are listening, and your chest is tight and your hands are empty because someone took what you built and went somewhere beautiful without you, hear me. The ocean is only one kind of blue. There are other kinds. The kind in your child's sweater. The kind in the evening sky outside your kitchen window. The kind of blue you become when you stop running after people who want to be chased and start walking toward the woman you are on the other side of the storm. I am not kinder than I used to be. I am not harder. I am exactly as soft as my children need me to be and exactly as steel as my new locks. When I lie down, I do not count transgressions. I count breaths. And when I wake, I open my eyes to a house that holds us. The world did not end. It only ended for the people who thought my hand would always be out waiting for them to come home and drop their sorries into it like loose change. They went to Hawaii without me. They came back to a judge and a kitchen table and a television screen that showed them who they were. I did not go to Hawaii, not that summer. Maybe I will one day. Maybe I won't. For now, the small hibiscus plant I bought at the nursery blooms on the windowsill, one red flower unfurling like a secret told finally. I touch its petals, soft as baby skin, and say out loud, because I like the way it sounds, this is mine. This breath. This room. This life. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story.